Hello and welcome. Another edition of Coach's Corner. And I have been getting a lot of emails, a lot of correspondence from parents and families that really wanted to do a deeper dive into the NCAA Division III. And I could not think of anyone better with regard to one of the, I think, longest tenured Division III coaches, at least in New England circles, I would say Eric at Wheaton. And our guest today, head coach at Babson College, Matt Noone. Matt, thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Good, thank you. Nice to see you in person, so to speak.
Matt's been a college coach at Babson. When I was at Becker College, Matt was just getting started. I believe it was 2003, Matt. Is that correct? When
That's
you took
it,
over? Yeah. So I thought today we would start really, I think, one of the most spectacularly beautiful college campuses in the country. Talk to me a little bit about what makes the campus at Babson so special, located in Greater Wellesley, Massachusetts.
Yeah, so we're 10 miles from downtown Boston. And as you know, Boston is this great college city. So we're part of this vibrant undergraduate population of Greater Boston. But we're secluded on this tree-lined, beautiful campus. We're a small school of 2,000 or so students, but we've got space and green grass and beautiful trees and buildings and facilities of a much larger place. I like to say is we're in a town and on a college campus where you don't have to lock your doors. But at the same time, you can jump on public transportation and be at a Sox game in 20 minutes. So you really get the best of both worlds. You get the safe, secluded, beautiful campus, but you're in a vibrant metropolitan area, and the kids take advantage of it. Can't tell you how many times the kids tell me and say, "Hey, we got the Sox, $9 student tickets in September, and they're at the game, and then not missing anything on campus either." So and just architecturally, the grounds, it's really a spectacular place, and you think you're kind of in Disneyland. This just beautiful place, so close to the city.
Well, one of the things that I think most people, when you start to think Division III, we start to think about balance between student and athlete. And Babson, as recently, I believe, as the fall of 2024 was voted the #1 return on investment as far as your education. Talk a little bit about the academics. I know from an entrepreneurship, business, both from an undergraduate and graduate degree perspective, is ranked, top 5 in the country. Talk a little bit about the academics, and the student body is global. So this is a heavily sought after degree from Babson. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you'll probably hear me throughout the conversation just talk about how special it is. But obviously it starts with the academic piece. And you're correct, #1 ranked return on investment, #1 ranked in all sorts of business categories. We are a business school, but I think the exciting thing for us is most recently, in the last 5 years, we've been consistently ranked in the top 10 across the board for any type of college or university. And it kind of peaked in September when the Wall Street Journal ranked us the #2 ranked school across the board. And for us, we knew what was going on inside the walls here. And I think, what the world is seeing now, like a world-class business education sets you up for success at whatever you choose to do. And what I love about this place is we get really highly motivated kids who are thriving in this, structured curriculum. It's not a liberal arts curriculum where you're kind of dabbling in different things. You get core courses out of the chute, you get put on a good track. And I like to say when our guys are done, they can fundamentally function at a high level at any type of job they want. And they're not kind of wandering aimlessly around campus studying different things. It's they've got structure, and it's real world stuff. They actually run a business as an undergrad, as part of one of their freshman year courses. I like to see it, and I can be critical of it because I was a liberal arts major, but what I see these guys get at a school like this is they get, real world practical education that translates into the modern world. right before our eyes, everything's changing, and Babson's ahead of the curve, preparing these guys to be successful. And I think that's why you see the number one ranked return on investment. But then as a bigger place, the ranking folks are recognizing that a school like this is really the best bang for your buck. And, I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm jealous in some ways that I never got to study the way these guys do. But I'm thrilled to be a part of it and see these guys and what they go on and do after they leave here.
One of the unique perspectives that I think you and I both have, somebody like, John Casey, we always used to have the dialogue. NCAA Division III in New England has really always been king. And because we have more schools, throughout New England states, a little bit more prevalent than Division I. We're kind of unique than other parts of the country. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about, before we get into the NEWMAC, the quality and the caliber of, not only from an athletic perspective, but academic perspective, all the schools that you're competing with and against in and out of conference, extremely strong athletically. So when we start thinking Division III baseball, we're not necessarily taking a step or two down from, say, a Boston College or a UConn. It's just the depth perspective. But just talk about, for the last 23 years, the strength. It's getting better every year as far as the quality of play at the Division III level.
So I've always felt that the numbers after this Division I, II, or III is really misleading.
I agree.
I think, from my perspective, there's Division I, and Division I is kind of what your son experienced. It's Vanderbilt, it's SEC. In our area, it's maybe BC, Northeastern, UConn. But then after that top band, I put everybody else in the same bucket. And what differentiates schools really is the school's commitment to the program, the quality of the coaches, the facilities, the overall experience that the kid has. And I look at, our conference, I in particular, I look at our school. I put us up there with anybody in the country outside of that SEC, top end. And, we have tremendous facilities, both indoor and outdoor. We have an extremely supportive administration that wants us to be successful in baseball. We have a loyal alumni group that helps fund the ancillary things that we need to be a top program. And from a student's perspective, the experience they get here at a Division III, which we are, is better than a lot of Division I's that are underfunded, that don't have the support of the administration, that have substandard facilities. So as you're looking for a place to play, I put us in our commitment to baseball here up with anybody in the country.
I'm going to now kind of lead into the NEWMAC, the New England Women's and Men's Athletic Conference. And, I've kind of grown up in this area, so I've known a lot about the NEWMAC in years past. We just talked about it. You had a game this past weekend, and we're starting to see, maybe not in great numbers, but we're starting to see that Division III athlete ascend up or being evaluated to play up. Going forward in today's world that we live in, this was never something that we had to deal with back in the 90s or early 2000s. But in today's world, are the athletes now within the portal giving a strong look? And how does that work with Division III going up to Division I and Division I starting to fall back down into Division III?
Well, I think if you talk to any of the coaches that are running these good programs at Division III, we always felt that we had really good players here that could play at any level across the board. And maybe one of the nice things that happened out of the disastrous COVID era was eligibility was granted to kids, and a lot of kids graduated and then went on. And there's tremendous success from a lot of Division III players at the highest level of Division I, that Power 5 level. And I think it opened a lot of eyes from both levels, the Division I top programs saying, these kids at Division III are really good. And then the Division III people recognizing, or maybe rewarded for what we've always believed, is that we're running really good programs that have really good players. So it's kind of blurred the boundaries a little bit. And I think now what's happening is we're getting kids that come to us to develop and potentially look to move on. And then we're getting people who go to Division I, and it may not be the great fit, that take a good serious look at us. We've had a few D1 guys come down. We had a great player from Northwestern do a grad year with us, tremendous player. We've had a handful of kids go to Boston. We've had a couple kids go to Boston College. We've had one go to Duke. We've had one go to Northeastern, and all had tremendous success. So the lines are blurred, and I think what it really has just simply done is validated what I've truly believed. At this level, we've got really good players at these really good programs, and we don't have the fancy uniforms of which your son probably got in the swag bag at that place. But other than that, on the field, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I never got any of that swag bag. That all went to his buddies. So, one of the things that I really feel that the student athlete needs to be aware of is a day in the life of a Division III athlete. It's vastly different than high school. I think a lot of families have this perception that I'm just going to roll out of high school and roll right into, Babson lineup. Can you talk a little bit about that transition time period from high school into college? And especially in today's world, we're dealing with an older athlete. We're dealing with potentially, I don't know where we're at today's, NCAA hearings. We could have a bombshell news announcement that we get the 5th year of eligibility. Talk a little bit about that process for the high school athlete coming into the NEWMAC and seeing not only the talent level on other teams, but their own teams such as Babson.
Yeah, and it always starts with, you can be a really successful high school player, but you don't have to love it and be passionate about it. You can kind of get away with some ability sometimes. To be successful at our level, you have to be extremely passionate about it. You got to love the grind. You got to love the work, and recognize that it is a jump. Our players are bigger, faster, stronger. They've been training. They're more experienced. So there is that level of adjustment. So if you don't come ready and you're not trying to get stronger and you're not playing all summer before you show up in September, you're going to have tough sledding when you start. We don't apologize for anything. Like the players we recruit, they define themselves at their core as baseball players, and they want to play beyond college, and they dream about playing in the Cape League, and they dream about getting drafted. I mean, they're baseball players to their core, and we treat them that way. We don't apologize for anything. The beauty about what we do at a high academic place and a Division III place is that not only you're putting that effort in baseball, but you're asked to put it in the classroom too. And I think there's nothing greater than that. But from a baseball standpoint, if you think you're going to just roll into a college program and have success without working to get stronger, without having the passion for it, and without knowing that you need to get better and that there's an adjustment, you're kind of fooling yourself.
Well, what I would love for you to kind of share, if you could put on what we used to call the Karnak hat with Johnny Carson, and you could predict the future, what do you foresee? I don't want to call it fallout. What do you see the pathway looking like after this settlement at the Division I level gets done? What do you foresee with the portal, with college baseball? What are some of the changes that maybe parents are not aware of that you might think might be coming if you had a crystal ball?
Yeah, certainly don't have the crystal ball, but the one thing we are seeing now is that the Division I's have different pipelines for players coming into their program. It's a lot easier to transfer. So I think that number one has allowed the incredibly fast-paced recruiting circuit to slow down. And I think what it makes for is more players available looking for the right home. I've just seen it in our level is, kids who typically might be that maybe mid-major Division I, I think those schools are a little slower in throwing out the offers just because, maybe they can check the portal a little bit. So I think my advice to high school players and high school families is cast a wide net and don't simply have your sights fixed on that D1 label. As I said before, those labels are very blurry. And I think there's a lot of really good places where you can grow and develop and become the best player you can be. So I think if parents were smart and kids were smart, they would recognize that the spots are becoming more precious at every level, and don't simply say no to people who might be interested in you. And take a look at what's out there and expand your horizons.
So I want to kind of get parents to have a vibe or a feel for the NEWMAC, and your presence in the NEWMAC. I think you've won 6 or 7 championships. I know you've been to the Division III World Series back in 2019. I would love for you to talk about whether it's Springfield. This year WPI has MIT has a pitcher that is going to be transferring to Tennessee. I don't like orange, but he's going to Tennessee. Could be drafted and drafted fairly high. You have Springfield, you have Coast Guard, WPI, a couple Casey brothers in there. Talk about that's a strong schedule, let alone what you play outside the NEWMAC. But just talk about, give athletes some perspective as to the caliber of student athletes that you're competing against.
It's an unbelievable league. I mean, the schools in the league want to be good in athletics. So, they've got good coaches at every one of these schools. They work really hard recruiting good players. They're tremendous on-field coaches, so their players get better. And every single NEWMAC game comes down to a couple pitches here or there, and unbelievably competitive. It's puts a lot of pressure on a coach, because there's no W's in your pocket before the season starts, and you got to earn every single one. So it's amazing competition. The rivalries are great. I think there's tremendous professionalism among all the coaches and among all the schools. I think it's an elite competitive environment that's like first class all the way. There's no nonsense among the teams. It's just may the best team win on the field. Our tournament is incredibly exciting. And then you kind of hit on it. You could probably pick and choose some rosters, but in that post-COVID era, you see the number of players from our league that have gone on and played at the highest levels, and every school's got them. Clark has a kid that transferred to Northeastern, and is just, Northeastern's having one of those magical years. They're over 40 wins already, and one of their rotation guys, pitched at Clark. Like I mentioned, the guys that we've had that got on, Wheaton's had a couple guys go to Northeastern and UConn that were some of their top players. So you're playing against really good players in this league. You're being coached by really good coaches, and you're at schools that really care about the sports. So we're really fortunate what we have.
So I would love, do you have prospect camps? So for those athletes that may not be in the greater New England area, how do you, because I know on your roster, I take a look at your roster, you have athletes from all over the country. How do you generally, prefer to be contacted? Is it Coach Ginsburg? Is it prospect camps? Is it social media? How do you like to begin or initiate the recruiting?
As I tell people all the time, there's no right or wrong way or one way to do this recruiting thing. Like every kid that's on our roster is a different story. But the big picture is it starts with kids reaching out to us and expressing an interest. I think the myth on this whole recruiting thing is that, the coach goes to this dusty old field and finds the needle in the haystack. But most kids are playing in competitive summer ball. They go to tournaments that we go to. We sift through all the inquiries that we get. We try to see people. We talk to coaches. We hit the tournament circuit. We're right now we're jumping through all the prep school games. We were at a bunch of prep school games yesterday. So I think if you want just simple advice to families, that if you're interested in a school like ours, send us a note saying, who you are, a little bit of academic information, a little bit of baseball information, and send us your schedule. And then we try to go out and see these guys. And then, you asked about prospect camps. We've done some, we haven't done. It really depends on, how our recruiting will shape up in the summer. Last year, we were fortunate enough, we found the class that we liked fairly early, and we didn't do a late summer prospect camp. If that changes, we run one Labor Day weekend. most likely. This past January, we got a head start on it. We had a tremendous response from people from all over the country coming up on a weekend in January to see us. So, we're a top destination now. But it's a simple process. Just reach out to us, and then we'll make every effort to see you play.
I want to let all parents and student athletes know now more than ever, you want to kind of make sure that your transcripts and your videos are able to be seen by the college coaches so they get a general idea of who you are as a complete student as well as athlete. So go ahead with the Baseball Blue Book, download that app, create your profile, put all of your contact information, add your video, obviously your transcript information, test scores. And I do want to ask this question because I do get asked this a lot. What role at Babson do test scores play? Are they optional, or are you more of the mindset that you prefer to see the test scores, with the transcript?
So we're test optional, which is good because, in the past, if a kid has a bad day on the test, you can get boxed out of a great opportunity. So we're test optional. With the transcript, what we look for is obviously good grades, but you have to be good grades in the top curriculum at your high school. If you're taking the lowest level offered at your school and you get good grades, that's great, but that doesn't kind of move the needle for our admissions office. They want to see you take a challenging curriculum, and they certainly want you to get good grades. So package that with your baseball video, and we can kind of sort through and see if it's a close fit, and see if it's worth pursuing.
Is anyone on the staff social media, because I get asked this question by parents, is social media, does it play a role in your recruiting process? In other words, are you scanning through and looking at the video if somebody's tagging Babson baseball? Does that play a role with the staff?
Yeah, like I said, there's no right or wrong way to do it. So if someone tags us, we certainly look at the videos and try to garner as much information as we have as we can from that. I don't think we box ourselves into saying this is how we do it. Like I said, every kid on our roster has a different story. So we just try to educate ourselves on the player that shows some interest in us, and then we talk to lots of folks, from coaches to guys like yourself that are helping kids, and we try to find really good players that we think will be good fits for us.
Well, I want to let parents know I'm going to have all the contact information, not only for Coach Noone, but all of the Babson athletic information will be in the description down below in the podcast, as well as with the YouTube and any of the social media. Feel free to reach out if Babson, I would do some due diligence and really some homework. Babson is an elite academic experience with an elite college campus. It's a global student body, and it's a fascinating experience. I know plenty of young athletes as well as older students that have gone on to get their MBA at Babson, and they continue to this day speak tremendously highly of their student or their academic process. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing a little bit about Babson College with all of us here today.
No, it was nice to talk to you, and I appreciate you thinking of us. And good luck this summer with everybody that's listening. It's a tricky business. I feel bad for parents. It's not easy, and you're not alone if you feel a little overwhelmed by the process. But keep working hard in the classroom and keep working hard in the baseball field, and you'll find the right fit and it'll work out for you.
I think that is extremely wise words from a wise man. And parents, slow your process down. The first thing I caught from Coach Noone was the process is slowing down. It's not just at the Division I level. It's unilaterally across college baseball. It's going back to the way it used to be when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was going through recruiting. Most guys didn't know where they were going until their senior year. It's okay. It's been done before. It's going back to that, and I think it's great for everybody involved. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.